Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be filming a little Q&A. I'm using some questions that were submitted by friends on Instagram. Let's get started. Question number 1. Would you recommend competing at Miss Idaho as an at-large candidate? Context for those of you that might not be aware, because of the current pandemic, we were required to cancel our remaining locals and sweeper competitions. That means that the women who would have won those competitions and gone on to compete at Miss Idaho now no longer have that opportunity. That being said, we've opened up Miss Idaho for eligible candidates to go straight to state and compete as an at-large candidate. We don't typically do this. Typically you do have to win a local competition to go to state. Next year that will be the case. So this chance to go experience state straight out is such a blessing. I absolutely encourage young women to do this. I think that any opportunity you have to challenge yourself, put yourself out in the Miss America organization is going to be helpful. If anything, it will be an opportunity to practice your talent, practice your speaking skills on stage, practice your interview skills. These are life skills that will build you up and help you to be a more successful and happy you. Also, while you're quarantined at home, this is something that you can focus on. You can be researching and working on you and have something to motivate you and look forward to. It's always fun to have some sort of motivating factor to make you want to be a better you, and that's what the Miss America organization has been for me. So especially while you're trapped in your house, I think it'd be good. Finally, if you're intimidated at all, please do not be. I know all of the women that have won local titles thus far, and they are sweet, they are welcoming. I know the board is going to be nothing but encouraging to you, and I am a friend and a resource. 2. What's been your favorite appearance as Miss Idaho? This is tricky. I have a lot of small interactions that are really gems in my year. It's hard to pick one, but one story that always just makes me smile looking back on was from Meridian Dairy Days parade. This was my second parade, so I'm still kind of high on life of becoming Miss Idaho at all. Parades are just such a high energy space where people are cheering and screaming your name. Typically they're not my very favorite appearance because I like to be able to talk one-on-one with people, but there's something kind of magical about loud music and crowds cheering and really feeling on top of the world. My favorite moment happened actually after the parade. Our caravan had pulled onto a back road. What is it called? Float. The float in front of us paused. A bunch of kids are jumping off and going off with their parents. So we're just waiting, and this little girl between 3 and 4 years old runs back to my convertible, and I'm sitting kind of still up on the car, and she's standing looking up at me from the side, and she doesn't say anything. And so I'm like, hey, hi, my name's Grace. What's your name? It's nice to meet you. And she's just not saying anything. She's just staring at me. All of a sudden, she just throws her arms out and just leans up against the car for a hug. Heart. So I give her a hug, and I'm just like so giddy because I just love children. They're so cute. And she runs off, and my mom's like, Grace, you should have given her an autograph card, which is, I'm really bad about that because I always feel kind of embarrassed doing it, even when I know it's a kid who would be excited, but I feel silly. A few minutes later, they stop again, more kids get off. I call the little girl back over. I give her this autograph card that has me and the sash and the crown and a little note written, and she clutches it to her chest. She still doesn't say anything to me. She runs away, and her mom walks over. She said, she just told me this is the best day of her entire life, and she's never going to forget this. And I just giggled to myself thinking this was such a small action for me to take, and I am just a 22-year-old college student in a borrowed dress in a borrowed car with a tiara. I often don't feel like I'm anything magical, but that little girl reminded me that I can have such an incredible impact by embracing the position that I have and using it to spread light, spread kindness, and really show those little boys and girls that they matter, that they're important. She reminded me what a blessing it is that I have this opportunity and to take advantage of it. Number 3, do you have any pageant regrets? I honestly 100% believe everything happens for a reason. Everything. God has a plan, and even the mistakes you make and the things that you trip up on, all of it that we see as flaws are teaching us something, humbling us, and sometimes reminds the judges that we're human, and sometimes that's charming. So looking back, any little hiccup I would have had, there's nothing I would really change. Overarching, I wish that I had dove into the Miss America organization sooner. I competed for the first time when I was 15 years old. I showed up to rehearsals with an incomplete dance, without any wardrobe, without any paperwork, without any idea what I was signing myself up for. I knew it was going to be fun. I knew there was a scholarship and I was going to perform. By luck, I truly believe I won my first local title. I was Miss Three Rivers Outstanding Teen. That was where I wanted to end. I had no intention to go to state. That was intimidating. I was not ready for that. I was not confident enough to be on a state level, but you have to go. So I went. I was proud of what I did, but I definitely was doing it with hesitation. And then once I was eligible to compete as a Miss, I went back, approached it with a similar behavior that I was going to give it a little bit of effort and just kind of do it for fun. But I wasn't really going to put 110% of myself into it. I think a lot of this is a defense mechanism. If you don't give it all when you don't win, you can walk away and say, well, it wasn't that big of a deal to me. But in all honesty, it was a big deal to me. I thought it was such a cool chance to represent my community, and I wanted it. And once I realized how I needed to transform my mindset, I needed to commit to this so that I could actually gain from it, I grew a lot once I decided to actually do mock interviews and actually work on my dance months in advance, really put my best self into it. One, I was so proud of what I was doing, and two, I could see a transformation. If 15-year-old Grace had been bold enough to admit that she cared and go for it, I might be in a different position. Probably not, because once again, told you everything happens for a reason. So please, don't do what I did. Don't just be like, maybe whatever, I'll just kind of half-hearted compete. Go for it. You'll never regret giving it your all. 4, what does COVID-19 mean for you as Miss Idaho? A lot of things. A lot of things are changed. In general, I would describe my basic job as Miss Idaho to be interaction with large groups and compromised immune systems. Things that we are not doing, which means my next 3 months as Miss Idaho, my calendar has pretty much been wiped clean. And at first I was like, well, I guess I just have nothing to do. No, absolutely not. The reality of what the rest of my year is going to look like is very different from my expectation, but that does not mean that I'm not going to have a wonderful year. And I actually think that our paths are predetermined. Even though I had those things written down on my calendar, they were never intended for me, and trusting that God would only put things in my path that are meant for me. And I am put into this position because I can handle it. Also reminding myself that everyone in the entire world is facing hiccups in their life right now. Things are being turned upside down and backwards, and I'm grateful for the safety and the health that I have and the time. I have months now to be at home and connecting with you all online. I can still be a uplifting, encouraging, educational, and kind Miss Idaho. It's just going to be in a different capacity and not the one that I had expected, but that's okay. Also, Miss Idaho is not canceled yet. We are praying and hoping that by June 13th, we can crown a new girl to take my job. However, if that doesn't happen, again, another gift of time. I will get to embrace this job for as much time as it takes for our world to get back on its feet. Then we will move from there. 5, how are you handling being an extrovert in quarantine? Not so good, folks. Not so good. Just kidding. Good and bad. I'm at home with my parents. It's just me and them. And luckily I have a really good relationship with both of them, and also we live out in the country, so if I don't, I can go outside. In all honesty, a lot of my year is interacting with strangers. Yeah, there's a lot of people in my life, but those things that really fill up my cup and make me feel recentered are the relationships with my closest friends and my boyfriend and my family. This year as Miss Idaho, I've been distanced from those people, and so I've been FaceTiming them and really practicing social distancing all year now. So my tips: FaceTime people. Be honest about how you feel. Don't be afraid to be vulnerable. Have real conversations beyond. So like, what did you make for breakfast today? Because it's gonna get pretty dull. Talk about values and life and what's important to you and your dreams and aspirations, and you can have really meaningful conversations and not be in person. That's a wrap for questions and answers this fine day. Now that I'm quarantined home and with more time on my hands, I figured I should recommit myself to making YouTube videos, connecting with you all out there. If you have any ideas for videos you would like to see or topics you would like to talk about, let me know. Hope you're safe, hope you're healthy, hope you're happy. Please keep in contact, subscribe to the channel. Love you all. Thanks for watching.